Okay, welcome to the Never Iron Anything Comics Review podcast. This is our 150th episode. Look at that. A podcast started in lockdown. Hey, still going. I'm joined, as you can hear, on this milestone episode by regular co-host, comics fan and creator Alan Henderson. How you doing, buddy? You right?
Greetings. You've survived the trip north of the wall and have returned back to sunnier climes down south.
That was a drive back, man. 450 odd miles it was. Like, I did it in a one. I just filled up with petrol, kept on trucking. Oh dear, that's a rough one. Yeah. But it's worth it.
It's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it was worth seeing you.
Yeah, it's worth hanging out with you guys. Yeah, you and
Summarise.
Cannon. Yeah, you're feeling Cannon's leg. It was worth it. Just if it was just for that.
Yes. Making people touch his legs. Anyway.
All I remember is sitting in a pub with you, and every so often I turn to you and go, "What's going on, Alan?" Like this. It's like constant.
And most of it understood, except when you ended up sitting next to a lady who
gave me a shoulder massage
about us.
Yeah,
and none of us knew who she was.
I have a sort of image of leaving Dave Cranner at a bus stop with a load of boxes as something happened. Yeah. Thing is, because it was the day that Celtic won. Was it the league? Is that what they won? The league?
No. It was Scottish Cup.
Scottish Cup. Okay. I walked back to my hotel and there were literally people lying in the street. It was like.
To be fair, that's any weekend. That's any weekend in Glasgow.
Yeah. I get that. I get a taste of that. Yeah. Fucking hell, there was people singing in the bar downstairs. It was all kicking off. Yeah. Good stuff.
Imagine what it would have been like if they'd lost.
Imagine.
Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So we had a chuckle. Maybe not the best convention in the world, but we had a chuckle at it, didn't we? So
yeah,
that's what counted.
We did.
Bought some back issues, didn't we? Got some crackers.
Yes, I went all Charlton for some.
Oh yeah, you got the cock and balls cover, didn't you?
It's a rocket ship, and I shall take no further questions.
It was held up in front of my face. I've never seen a cover with something that looks more like a cock and balls in my life. You said, and then you said, "I'm going to buy this."
Well, how could I say no after such a it was a find and a half. So but that was a lot of. I ended up with. Well, yeah, I bought 4 comics. All from that back. I bought 4 back issues. I did buy a couple of other comics.
Yeah.
And I think only one of them is younger than me.
Oh wow! I like buying comics older than myself. It's good, isn't it? It's like a nice bit of history, isn't it?
So I shall not embarrass you by suggesting I think even one of them was even older than you.
Wow!
Just in case I got that entirely wrong.
It's not dust in your hands.
Yeah, and as per our colleagues in Dundee would say, like when you open them up, they certainly have an aroma about them. So,
that's when I went, because I went from you.
Something about that. Yeah.
I went from you to Dundee and did that comic smell episode with the boys up there. I mean, it was very much a chuckle. I can't really say what Mike Starker said he'd do, but yeah, it was a good chuckle. Yeah, good stuff. Now, this was a challenge you gave us to do, something I hadn't read, and I've had zero involvement with the whole. Is milieu a word? I don't know.
Yeah,
the whole group of things that surround this particular comic, which I've since done 2 of the 3 things, which we're going to talk about. So, what have you challenged me to read this week, dude?
So I set you off on a journey to read some of Injustice, which I think is generally titled as Injustice: God Amongst Us.
Yeah.
Gods Amongst Us, which was the tie-in book for the original Injustice DC video game, subsequently followed by Injustice 2, which was the follow-up video game, and there's a tie-in set of comics that go with that as well.
Yeah.
Alongside it, there's been an array of toys. There was an animated movie that was based on the comic series.
Yep.
There was a mobile app version of the game that was a little bit different, but with some of the context. So I've never played the game either, in terms of the big game. I have played the game on the app.
Okay.
Now, as far as I can tell, all that you need to know about the game is it's and there's probably gamers going to shout at me for this all being entirely wrong, but it's Street Fighter, but featuring DC characters. Right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah,
two
that's how I understood
beat
it.
them
Yeah.
up, and that's it. Now, the expansion on the game beyond that is essentially that you can upgrade the characters over time, so you give them extra armor, extra powers, extra whatever,
Yeah.
and special, I presume, special moves and all this sort of stuff, and that's all you really need to know about the game, right?
Yeah.
Now, the game does have a storyline that's set with it. Now, I'm never sure why some of these games have storylines, because I'm not entirely sure how often people bother with them versus just saying, just get on with the game. But the essential premise of the storyline is, how do we make it so that all these characters fight each other? Well, we need to create a thing that causes them to have antagonists against each other.
Yeah.
And that is where Volume 1 of Injustice Gods Amongst Us kicks off, because it's actually set 5 years prior to the storyline in the game.
Yeah, so it's kind of the origin prequel. I actually think there's a certain parallel with Civil War in the Marvel Universe with this as well. You know, pitting one group of heroes against another. They have to choose their sides. So one group of heroes goes underground, the other group doesn't. You know, there's a bit of that, I think.
I mean, as far as the storyline is concerned, there's not an awful lot original about it. And it is, because it fits alongside a number of other Elseworlds. It's not badged as an Elseworld, but it really should be for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I think I quoted on the Slack, we were chatting about it. I said it's kind of an Elseworlds for gamers to me.
Yeah,
you know?
And it then, interestingly, when you get to Injustice 2, where they basically get to the point of saying, right, we've wrapped the story up, A fights B and something happened, or essentially they set up ready to have the fight. How do we solve this? And what they do is they introduce the multiverse at that point. And so you're going to start bringing the characters who have gone bad to be good, so you can actually fight each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So which takes us all the way back to 1986 or whatever, or Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it's a case of, how do you get Superman from Earth 1 to fight Superman from Earth 2?
Yeah.
That's all this is in some ways. Now, the premise of the story, however, is to turn around and say, how do you make the best of us break and turn bad? And we're talking about a story that's 10 years old. If anyone was worried about spoilers, leave now.
Plus, this is in the first third of the book, isn't it? What you're about to say?
Yeah.
Of volume 1 of I think it's 153 issues of the first volume, 75 of Injustice 2, 24 issues in Ground Zero, 14 issues in Year Zero, and then the classic, which is referred to, I think, classically in literature as A Bridge Too Far, 6 issues of the Masters of the Universe crossover. Yeah.
I've never read the Masters of the Universe crossover. I've read most of
the rest of it. Yeah. Cool,
mate. So the starting here is essentially, how do you make Superman go bad? How do you push him so far that he goes off the cliff edge?
Yeah.
Now, when I first read this, I would have read it entirely cold, without any knowledge about the game at all. Therefore, I'm not saying it was a shock, but it starts off with this thing of saying, set Superman up to be really good and everything's happy and bright. He and Lois are happily married. Certainly,
I think
involved.
So. Yeah.
And it turns out that she's pregnant, and that's
which is nicely done. The whole 2 heartbeats thing. Yeah, he hears 2 heartbeats and gets all excited. Big boy scout kind of moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about, he's going, there's some name dropping of characters at that point. How do we get, I need to deal with Dr. Fate to work out how we're going to deal with this, and and Dr. Midnight as to how things, all that sort of stuff about how do you look after her being. At which point, it basically flips and goes, right, the Joker decides that he's going to set off a nuclear bomb in Metropolis, which results in the death of Lois. Entirely flipping Superman over the edge. Batman gets involved at that point, chasing down the Joker. Sorry, on you go.
Yeah. Doesn't he kill Lois? He confuses
Oh,
Lois.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Joker kills Jimmy, shoots him
Yeah.
through the head, and then they manage to mix up some kryptonite gas that Star Labs have been experimenting on that the Joker has stolen in order to
That's
make
right. Sorry, I'm getting my
that's
bits
right, man.
muddled
Yeah,
up
I
here.
know. This starts off simple and it gets complicated. But this gas changes Superman's perception. He thinks he's pushing Doomsday out into outer
Mm.
space, but he's not. He's pushing Lois, and he kills her, and
Yeah.
that leads him to kill. That's the moment, isn't it? That's the thing that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a bomb as well somewhere. I'm trying to think about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because they do blow up.
yeah. It is. It's blown up. Metropolis is blown up. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
it
big
blows up
part of it.
Metropolis as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So it's basically wipes away. Joker gets caught by Batman. Superman finally does what everyone's amazed Batman has never done, and Superman chooses to kill the Joker
yeah,
by properly just putting his hand right through him and stuff.
yeah.
And then
Proper
thus
Electra
begins,
job of killing him, isn't it? Sort of
yeah,
punches straight through the chest, kind of thing. Yeah,
thus begins the version of going right. Batman's going to say, "How do we stop Superman?" And Superman's going to go down the route of saying, "Let's clean house." Why have I got all this power and have not stopped all these things happening?
yeah,
Now, there's that weird yin yang going, well, is this you saying that Superman goes off to be the ultimate fascist and say he's going to be the dictatorial piece of ruling the world? Or is he actually just saying, from his perspective, I'm going to do the right things, that, I'm going to stop all these wars. I'm going to
yeah.
stop all the bad things that are happening without necessarily understanding the nuances.
It's the moment that
And then, of
government.
course, he
It's
gets
almost a
manipulated.
yeah. It's a parallel for government, isn't it? In a way, it's when does
Oh,
government become for the people and then become against the people? And
yeah,
allegedly for their own good, and it moves the needle moves slowly that way, doesn't it?
yeah. And there's, and this is where, I think you described this as it's GLA on meth.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, certainly.
there's
Yeah.
nothing particularly subtle in this book,
Hmm.
in that every time a chapter, and that's, obviously when it originally came out in the digital first format, everything was these short little chapters.
Yeah,
And clearly what they tried to do at that point was say, every time we do something, it has to be magnified to the nth degree, so that, it's something really big's happening, or something comedic's happening, or something, and it's just bang, bang, bang. And that's where, as I say, it is, Aquaman's going to fight his corner. Bang. Okay. You know what? Let's lift Atlantis and put it in the middle of the desert and
yeah.
go on then, survive. And it's just like, bang. And that's, I think I likened it to you at one point when this is proper soap opera stuff.
Yeah,
In
it is.
that, every time, if you sit down and watch Coronation Street or EastEnders, whatever, every time something dramatic happens, it's big dramatic, because you're not going to have here's the boring little episode of nothing really happening. And
Yeah.
I think that's where when you read it all, as a big chunk, you should go and there's a lot going on.
There's there's no decompression here. I think I have that in my notes.
No.
It almost, I think what
Yeah.
did I say? It gives me whiplash. It's so undecompressed.
Yeah.
It gives you whiplash, and it also gets complicated quickly. So you've got to pay attention. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But that's what comics have been like and were like.
Yeah.
I didn't
And,
mind that at all. Yeah.
And I think there's no decompression, but there is comedic relief
Yes. Yeah.
through it, which is the almost attempt to, and that again, from it's a soap opera perspective, kind of works for me in terms of every now and again we'll go over to the two characters who are just who are just there just to be a bit crazy or silly, until finally one of them who's the fun character, so they set up a really interesting pairing of Green Arrow and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Not two characters I would have put together normally. Actually, they really work.
Yeah.
As soon as you get into about issue 12, I think it is, Green Arrow goes. He's one of the characters that falls.
Yeah, and they don't mind killing people
quite,
in this series, do they? It does happen a lot.
No.
Yeah.
No, and it's big names go quite early on.
Yeah.
And that's again trying to show the demonstration of how different people react to the various crises.
Yeah. I'm going to say this is closer to... Okay, what started me on thinking this was I went, Lois is a a bit of a redhead in this, isn't she? Do you know what I mean? At one point you think, it's very sort of redhead stroke brown haired. And then you think, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And then you think, oh, okay, so where else is she that? And I thought, oh, she's that in the movies. And I began to sort of think that amphetamine edge to the DC heroes is very like the Snyderverse. And I'm not one of these haters or lovers of it. I enjoyed some of the movies, I didn't enjoy others. But there's that violence and that immediacy to this, isn't there? They even pull a couple of the Snyderverse tricks. Wonder Woman uses her shield, quite a lot. There's these little moments. Superman's burst into like a lot of violence, almost without caring about the world around him that we got in his first movie from Snyder. There's very much that feel to it. You've also got the armoured Batman thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come back and talk about the art in terms of some of the choices there. But I think you're hitting the nail on the head as well with one of my other key points with this.
Right.
Is that who is this comic really for?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think we have to, and I think this ties into something that we've argued about we've argued it as an industry about.
Yeah.
This book is meant for people who are coming in going, well, I know a little bit about this and a little bit about that. I've played maybe a little bit of the game. I've seen some of the movies.
Yeah.
Pick this book up and they start reading it and they go, yeah, I know who that is.
You can run with it.
I don't need to worry about, I don't need to worry. So therefore, having that warmthness of going, yeah, we brought you in. So that, we've so often we've said, oh, here's the latest Batman movie or the latest MCU movie. Where's the comic tie-in? Where's the bring-in that says to people, having read, you enjoyed that piece of media, try the comic.
Yeah.
This is the answer to that question for those people that played that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I've written in my notes.
This
is a good modern entry drug. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's got huge flaws in terms of pacing and artwork, and
the art's a little bit all over the place, isn't it? Yeah. That's
partially because I think there's so many artists.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was about to say. Let me just quote you. So this is the credits page from Injustice: Gods Amongst Us, the Volume 1. There are different formats. We'll talk about this in a second. But I read mine as as essentially a trade paperback, full-page comics. I read it on the app. There is a way of reading it as a sort of digital-only comic, which is a smaller sort of framed page. But so this story takes place before the start of the game. Tom Taylor, writer. Jeremy Rapak, Mike S. Miller, Bruno Redondo. This must have been an early pairing of him and Tom Taylor. Axel Jimenez, David Yardin, Tom Derenick, Mark Deering, Diana Agia. They're the artists on this. What is it, 5 issues? 5 issues, isn't it?
But yeah.
Colorist.
No, that's 6.
6, okay.
Yeah.
Colorist Andrew Elder, Alejandro Sanchez, David Yardin, David Lopez, and Santi Casas of Vicari Studio. Wes Abbott, poor old Wes Abbott on his own there, did all the lettering. And I think that's it. I don't think it credits an editor. No, it doesn't. There you go.
No.
Yeah. That's a lot of people in the mix, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's Volume 1.
Yeah.
Volume 2, the artists are Mike Miller, Bruno Redondo, Tom Denrick, Kevin Maguire, Neil Googe, Jeremy Rapak. I'm going to murder this one. Ex Meraco, and Johannes Trinidad. So there's, again, it's mixed. And I think this is the thing. When it was being put out as digital first, they were kind of going, well, here's another few pages, or here's another, and it was just like being pushed around. I actually do wonder as well if it, for a while, DC were going, well, we want, you want to do some tryout pages for us?
Yeah.
And you go.
Yeah, could work, couldn't it?
Here's a pretty safe thing to deal with, and means you can, can you do likenesses? Can you do the costumes that appear in the movies? Can you do whatever? And it allows people to, to be a tryout. And there aren't many of the names on that list that have been breakthrough artists. There are a few that have,
Yeah.
And then they've also got some stuff clearly like with Neil Googe and Kevin Maguire, where they've gone, you got a payday? Here's a payday.
Yeah.
To keep you ticking over.
It was kind of an early comic for Taylor as well, wasn't it? I mean, Taylor, I think he'd done some theatre work before this, but it was kind of the one that broke him, and he carried on through it. I think he wrote the second one, Injustice 2, as well, didn't he, I think? Yeah.
So Yeah, I'm going to say that he's written about two-thirds of all of the Injustice stuff because I think he
Right.
was on Injustice, stepped away for it, then came back for Injustice 2, and then stepped away again. But that, you know, when you talk about the fact, depending on how you count it, there's you know, circa 200 issues out there. If you've
Yeah.
done two-thirds of them, that's
It's
not a
not bad
bad
page
goal.
numbers, is it? Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I think it's good from that side. I do think, as somebody who's been in comics a bit longer, I find a number of the costume choices um, not necessarily to my liking. But having seen the mobile app version of the game, I know why they've made the choices they have.
Yeah, they're very
Um,
armory, aren't they? The game stuff.
they are,
Yeah.
yeah. And again, that's partially because when you're going through, if you want to have three different versions of Batman or three different Wonder Woman, you've got to go, right. Well, we'll put her, here's the armor outfit, and then with it reconfigured or reconfigure, and so it allows them to deal with that. And I can kind of get that, and I can live with it from the perspective of,
And the costume choices dictate the tone they want for each character as well. So Batman is
yeah,
in armor because he's an underground fighter for a big chunk of this. Superman has got a sort of high collared militaristic costume for a change. Yeah, there's Wonder Woman is
some of this
much
does
more of a
relate to
warrior
the
woman.
yeah, some of this does relate to that Jim Lee
Yeah,
redesign that
the new 52
took
stuff.
place
Yeah,
at that sort of
everyone had armor then,
period as
didn't
well.
they? Yeah. It
Um,
also takes place.
yeah.
There's a confusion around what Earth it takes place in. So
Hmm.
if you watch the movie, right at the end, no spoilers, a Superman from another Earth appears, and he says, "No, you're Earth 22." And if you follow the New 52 continuity, it's Earth 49. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know why they said 22 in the movie, but they did.
Tonight's balls are selected by Lancelot,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sorry, tonight's Earth should be
Yeah,
selected
yeah.
by.
It's
So yeah,
it's interesting though. They do fit a lot in, and the benefit of using iconoclastic DC characters is the fact that we know them. There's a shorthand to them when they appear, when
yes,
Plastic Man appears, when Harley appears, when Green Arrow appears, when Batman appears. We know them, and part of the pleasure is knowing them and then them getting twisted. So especially with
Hmm.
Superman, Wonder Woman takes a sort of kind of conciliary manipulator kind of role for part of it. Harley kind of turns and becomes a good guy allegedly. There's
Yeah,
the what's happening here is that one of the reasons we like Elseworlds, or some of them, is that we can play with that. We know who they are, but they twist it. I think that's kind of
yeah.
comes across.
I must admit, the Wonder Woman one is the one where initially, or certainly for you, she's very much the warrior in this,
Yeah,
not the peacemaker or not the
yeah,
peace bringer.
yeah,
She's always almost the one whispering in his ear a lot, in Superman's ear a lot, to say, "Well, go do this." And I think there's a scene, for example, when Aquaman speaking to her says, "Tell Clark I'm sorry about Lois," and shortly after that, Clark goes to her, "And did he say anything else?" And she goes, "Nope." So she leaves it as going, "No, I want you to be at war with these people because that's,
yeah.
and
And
that's partially because
she's after
she's
him, isn't
trying
she?
to
She's
get him.
looking to bone him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, so it's fascinating from that. I think there's, as I say, I love the Harley. Right, there's
yeah.
this
You really
whole
like that
thing at
dynamic,
the
and
moment
I kind of feel it. I think it's one of the
where
high points of the first volume, definitely. Yeah, and it
when
plays out well in
because
the
Harley
movie.
Quinn's Harley Quinn's is a character that's overplayed and oversaturated in the market at the moment,
Yeah,
and it does mean that there's a lot of really rubbish Harley out there. But done properly, it should be the utter silliness piece. There's a scene in the second book where she's stolen a bike, and it's her and Green Arrow going, "So where did you steal the bike?" And he says, "Well, it says who do we know that's got a floating space bike?" And it's something, "Oh God, Lobo's coming," and it is that sort of twist to
okay,
that.
right.
There's there's a scene in the whole scene in Arkham where he goes, "Right, you stay here with the security guard," and he goes away, and she starts speaking to the security guard with, "Hi, Kenneth," and she
Yeah,
knows the security guard, And it then plays later on when I think it's Nightwing starts speaking to Green. What have you done with Harley? He's like, I left her at the front gate, and they go, not with Kenneth.
Yeah,
And it's
Kennedy
this whole,
clearly
it's
fucking
this,
keeps fucking up all the
oh
time. Yeah, yeah.
no, and
Doesn't he
it's
make
just
comment about
this
he's
sort
already
of
had his nose broken twice by her or something like that? There's some kind of
yes,
comment about that,
yeah,
isn't there?
it's just
Yeah,
and it's just and it's just those little things you're going, yeah, it's funny, and so that plays quite well as again, and because so much of it's just like bang bang, to have that little bit of comic relief every now and
yeah,
again is what you need, and she, without it again, without overplaying it, it does get overdone towards the end because essentially the whole of the Ground Zero storyline is her,
Oh,
is two
okay.
books about her,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's too much.
Because it's yeah, and that is again the oversaturation.
Yeah, yeah. There's some
You
high
loved the
points.
scene with Alfred as well, didn't you? That was
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was about to mention. Actually, there's a couple of scenes that I really, really dug. So I'm I'm not convinced it's the best writing, but it does its job. It had me page after page. I sat and for another 10 minutes in the coffee shop and finished the next issue. I felt gripped to read it, which is unusual these days, and very much enjoyed it. There's a couple of moments I think are really well written though. There's a moment which is what I've written in my notes as Flash's solo story of realization. So he's found this one single road in Australia that it's the longest road you can run straight down, and he says it's his idea of heaven, and he uses it to think. I thought that's a great idea. I mean, Tom Taylor's Australian, I think, isn't he? So he probably will know about that. And then the other one, the main one, the one I loved, and this takes me back to when in the 90s when the internet was in its infancy, I was writing Alfred and Commissioner Gordon fan fiction for a site. Certainly no one will ever read that. Is the bit where he passes Superman on the stairs to the Batcave, and there's a conversation about "Don't call me master," and Alfred says to him, "Yeah, go on, man. Yeah,
yeah. I was going to say, so it's not staying for tea, Master Kent. I'm afraid not, Alfred. And you don't have to call me Master. Good. Let's remember that.
yeah." So the whole of what's going to happen is summed up by Alfred in that scene. Genius. Loved it. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Why do they keep killing Alfred? We need him for that man on the street, that measured, that reality based kind of stuff, don't we? Really? Yeah.
Don't get me started about why they killed Alfred. That's
And the other bit that really kicked me in the guts is when Damien kills Nightwing, and I'm like, oh, that's they lead into it as well.
That, were you?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because it's such an afterthought of a death, but because it's an accident, it holds that power. It's really well done. Yeah, really, really well done. I think.
And I think that sets up that whole dynamic by the end of book one, where you've the two main protagonists.
Yeah,
it's a Batman Superman book with everybody else. Have both lost somebody very, very important to them, and how do they react to it completely differently? Which, and again, it's back to my soap opera piece. No, the overall thing, you're going to turn around and go, the writing's okay, but the individual scenes in it, every now and again, there's bits of gold.
It's a nice little inspired scene. Yeah, there is,
and
he's writing much like again in those moments. Yeah.
And if you're watching a soap opera, you'd go 2 or 3 weeks without seeing anything, and then suddenly one episode you're just like, that's going to win whatever awards, and and Jay McDonald will present them.
The ideal. And also the weight they give Solomon Grundy, which is Solomon Grundy they've almost like depowered him in the last sort of 10 years, haven't they? He really kicks some arse in this, doesn't he? He appears in this and the movie. He both appears. He's a genuine threat, which I thought was really good. And then I realised I've been saying Amazo the wrong way for years as well after watching the movie this afternoon. Amazo. There you go. Yeah. One other thing I wanted to talk about, I thought it's a fairly quick book to talk about, this one, but there's a couple of things I want to talk about, and this is something that I was thinking as I was reading it and sort of dwelling on it, and it is a book you think about afterwards because they're fucking around with our favourite characters in a way and killing some of them, and there's not a massive weight on it because it's this pocket universe almost, but there's a nihilism to it, Al, I felt. a
Yeah.
nihilism and and possibly bordering on a crassness to it, which is something I feel through some of the Snyder stuff as well. There's a what do you think about that? Let's just throw that comment at you. What do you
So
think?
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
However, and it's partially because, well, very late to the party, I only quite recently watched The Boys season 3
yeah.
on
I've only
Amazon,
just finished it myself, actually. Yeah, yeah,
and I would argue that the obviously the characters in The Boys are generic lifts of and reworkings of that's really all and
yeah,
I would say it's because The Boys is so further crass.
yeah.
This
We're insulated a
it's
little
almost
bit
like this
against
is
it. Yeah,
this suddenly becomes a PG version of The Boys.
a
If
little bit.
that
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
you know, and it's and therefore it pushes me back a little bit to say and go, you know what? I don't think it goes to this is still readable by young teens,
yeah. Of course.
right?
Yeah,
And the crassness is more the fact that it loses the nuance of saying, there are certain characters who should be multi-dimensional. What we're really going to do is make them single dimensional because it's easier, it's quicker, and because of the audience I think we're trying to reach with these books, we'll just do that.
it's a
So
shorthand. Yeah, it's a shorthand
yeah,
to turn Superman into, I'm going to say, the Public Spirit or Homelander.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
shorthand these days that
exactly.
we know for the getting on for 50 years we've been reading Superman. Almost 100 years between us. We know he wouldn't do that. We know that's not him. He would do the
Yeah.
opposite. But
Mm.
that punching of it, you're punched in the face by it to say it, and all
Yeah.
the way through it, I keep thinking. I did feel a little bit like it's not him. This isn't him. But then
And
again, it's a different
but
universe. I know. Yeah.
and that's where Injustice 2 goes,
Oh,
by saying,
interesting.
right,
Okay.
bring not because you can turn around and go, right, we've merged the multiverses together so you can get the good Superman coming to fight the one that's gone too far.
Yeah, that's happens in the
And
movie.
and exactly. And that's basically where Injustice 2 goes to that whole,
Right.
what earth are you on? And that's uh, the other thing that thinks with the boys is obviously, by the time you get to book 2 of this, and so I always the way that I've read it is as the hardcovers
Yeah.
that came out, which means there's 20 of them in total, just sort of
Right.
standard covers. And
What's called
of course
Shelf
they came out,
Fawn, I believe. Yeah.
yeah, and they came out as dirt cheap, and actually looked like a nice decent set on that thing.
Yeah.
By the end of book 2, you realize one of the things they find is the fact that there is a tablet you can take that gives you superpowers for a period of time.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yep.
you're like going, oh, that's in the boys as well, Um,
Okay. Of course
and
it is.
it's all
Yeah.
about the fact that the second book's all about going to steal a version of it so that Batman can then start the process of replicating that. So that because again, how do you get? If you think about it from the gaming perspective, if you're going to have a street fight between Batman and Superman, how do you do that? Or
Yeah.
between any two characters? Well, you have to say, well, you have to balance the power levels. Oh, look, you take the tablet, bang, you've got Superman's powers for the purpose of the beat 'em up.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a little aside to what you're saying. We were having a conversation on the Slack, and we had a message from Claire Hemsworth. We were talking about it, and she said, I spent the weekend working as the assistant at a convention, I think, for Franz Drama, who played Firestorm in the Flash and Legends of Tomorrow TV series. He said he absolutely hammered Injustice 2 because he wouldn't let anyone be better than him at playing his own character. He really liked the game. Didn't mention the first one, though. There you go. Yeah. The pill thing is played in the movie quite well. They just introduced the pill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And again, that's good. But again, and this is where there are no new ideas. There are just all
Yeah.
mixed together. I think it's fascinating that you said, it is a story that you just keep going with. It
Yeah.
was one of the reasons why I kept going back, going, yeah, I'll have another one of the hardcovers. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And you just sit down and go, yeah, I'm going to read it. Boom, boom, boom. It's never going to be down as one of the greatest things ever written. It's never going to be
I don't need it to be, man. I often say this.
award winning or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. And
Yeah, me
that's,
too.
yeah. And I keep coming back to this sort of throwaway soap opera thing about going, yeah, there's a reason that people watch soap operas. You
Yeah,
know, they're just enjoyable fun or what, you know, going, yeah, I
yeah,
like that. Give me some more. And I don't need to go back and revisit 300 years worth of history or, you know, or, you know, the
yeah.
last 300 issues. Yeah,
I
just
grade
give
it
it
because
there.
I make a note of everything I read, and I grade it just purely from an enjoyment point of view. And these were solid sevens and eights all the way through. You know,
Yeah,
because it's just solid storytelling. It'll never set the world alight. You're right.
yeah.
You know, it's not award worthy. It's just fun. You know, that's all it
Now,
is. Yeah,
I think it's fascinating as well that a lot of the people that have read this, as they go on and read it all, or read big chunks of it, and a lot of them aren't necessarily outright comic because you were saying that your son had read
yeah,
this
he has. Yeah, he's read it all. Yeah,
and you know, and again, I know he's comic literate,
yeah.
but again, it's that whole, yeah, just get other people to read it, just go out and, you know, and this
Yeah.
gets you in and amongst it.
I also think we're so far down the
Yeah,
road of deconstruction. So there's a direct line from Watchmen. There's a direct line from the Public Spirit and Homelander and all these sort of characters and Dark Knight especially. You know, there's a it's deconstruction. It clearly is. It's deconstruction, reconstruction. You know, but we're so far down that road of deconstruction that it doesn't become the sole reason that a comic is interesting. And we've so crossed that line many years ago. And okay, they deconstruct all the characters, they change them all, they fit them into a pocket universe where they're all acting in this in conjunction kind of with each other. But it has to have something else, and it has to have a ripping yarn and some humour for me. That's where it
yeah,
goes. This is a pulp comic, as they all should be.
yes,
I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
entirely. I mean, it's probably a little bit heavy-handed, but I could equally see this fitting into 1970s GLA.
Yeah.
You know, um, okay, you wouldn't necessarily go, you know, with some of the death and that, but it is just that we're going to get in, we're going to tell you a story, and we're going to get out and just, you know, don't worry,
Yeah.
there's another one coming soon. If you don't like this one, there's another one coming soon.
There's a
Um,
couple of themes as well, Al. I just want to run past you. I was thinking about. So there's a couple of themes that I think about in this. There's a theme of people acting like someone else, losing their mind, doing something that they will, purposely be seen to regret. And it's not just Superman in this. You've got Batman attacks the president in the Oval Office. I know he's done that before, but not certain this president isn't necessarily Luthor or someone. Superman decides to take on the police, and changes the police. Wonder Woman tells Ares about how she's going to bone Superman. There's almost like a psychopathic fucking disease spreading around these characters. I
yeah,
think there's a mental illness, and the other part that sort of springs off of that is I actually think this comic, one of the main themes is fear, and we shift. So a big theme of fear has always been Batman. Everything from him standing next to a monster on a ledge in Gotham, a stone monster on a ledge in Gotham, all the way through to the fear gas used by villains, the way he hangs people, he uses fear. But the theme of fear shifts from him to Superman, and so
yeah,
makes him slightly less powerful, Batman, because he's always kind of been the most powerful character, isn't he? He's the one we know that everyone won't be able to beat. It's this whole JLA story, wasn't it, with Morrison, where he says, he can defeat everyone.
yeah. And I think there's the way he breaks down when Nightwing dies is
Yeah,
part of that as well.
yeah,
Where you suddenly go, this is the broken man. Which you see more in him than you see the broken man of the way that Superman reacts, who
yeah.
just becomes the angry man,
Yeah, there's a coldness to
Um,
Superman that you don't expect.
yeah. But again, and as I said, this is where I can go, yes, this isn't Earth Prime. This isn't, this isn't my Superman, but I recognize it as a Superman. And I recognize all the characters in it, and therefore I can flow through with it. It it's a very dark version, and it's not. Um, Look, nobody buys a beat 'em up game because they want unicorns and
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
candy
they don't
floats,
want
and and
they don't
therefore,
want the later issues, the later volumes of Cerebus or something, do they? That's not what they're looking
yeah,
for. Yeah,
and they're not. Yeah, they're not looking for a particularly progressive comic book, shall we? Let's
yeah,
use that terminology.
yeah,
Um, So it's, it is, again, that's the audience that you're playing into. So it's how do you make sure you deliver, you recognize the audience that you're playing into, but at the same time deliver something good that can bring other people in.
Oh man, and I make them
I
right on it.
find,
I don't want to. If I have to read
mm,
another comic book about, I don't know, Guatemalan lepers, I think I'll go fucking mad. I'm told you got to think it's great because it's this worthy subject. I genuinely just
yeah,
want to see blokes punching shit out of each other every so often, and
yeah,
this fills that hole for me. That's that gap filled for,
and
you know.
and yeah, and that I would say, like, if people like reading spandex, read this because you will enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah,
And there is no need to play the game.
yeah.
None.
I've never played a video
None
game
at
in my
all.
life, and I have no
Right.
intention of playing one. Yeah, and I still
Um,
enjoyed it. Let's just mention the movie quickly, Al, because I want to mention that.
yep.
I've just finished watching it. I can't remember. I think you might have said there's a movie, so I sort of quickly downloaded it and started it last time. We finished it today. It's R-rated. It's only 1 hour and 18 minutes. Easily consumable. 41% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Very close to the running time in its running to the first trade, and then obviously we take that shift later on because it does have a finish. Fairly basic animation style that we're used to for some of the more sort of adult prone DC books. Every time I turn around, there seems to
Yeah.
be a new DC animated movie that I haven't heard of. There's a bit of that going on.
Yeah. They've got a lot out now.
Yeah,
It's lost a lot of the quality that they used to have. So.
yeah. 2021 it came out. It's currently available for $9.99 to buy on Sky. It's Anson Mount plays Batman, who plays Christopher Pike in the new Trek series, a couple of new Trek series. Did you know who played Superman in this one? That's an interesting one. No, the Superman is played by a
No.
guy called Justin Hartley. Now, not related to any hairs, but Justin Hartley is the Green Arrow in Smallville, and he was also, I don't know if you ever saw this, he was the Aquaman in the Unsold pilot that had the
All right.
had the lighthouse keeper as Ving Rhames. Did you ever see that? Fucking
No,
hell!
I don't think
I
I
quite
heard
like
of
Ving
it.
Rhames. Probably miscast in that role. And then Gillian Jacobs plays Harley. Now, Gillian Jacobs, if you looked at her, you would think she was related to the lady who played Harley in the movies, whose name's escaping me, and who also looks like that lady from Sex Education that everyone confuses for the woman who plays Harley in the movies. There's this sort of theory that they're the same
Yeah.
person, but these three people look the same. She's also in a really funny movie called Ibiza, and I think she's in Community as well, and she's quite
Right.
good in it. The writer is shown both in the credits and at DC Fandom and on the Wikipedia page as Ernie Altbacker, and not Tom Taylor. But if you watch the movie, there's so many lines that are direct lifts from the graphic novel. And bear in mind, this was
So
made
if
5 or 6 years later.
I've quickly loaded up IMDb, and Tom Taylor is listed as one of the writers on
Oh,
IMDb.
on
So,
IMDb. If you watch the credits, it says writer is Ernie Altbacker, and it's
yeah.
from the graphic novel by Tom Taylor. That's how
Wow.
the film credits are. But yeah, at least he gets some credits on IMDb. That's good.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
As long as he gets
watchable.
a
It's
TV,
fun.
yeah.
I like these things. I watch them. Like I watched the Hellblazer one. It weren't brilliant. I watched these sort of thing. War.
Yeah.
That was one, wasn't it? They've been coming out for years now, 25 years, and they or something. I've got to say, those
It,
movies.
when did Batman the animated series start? Because that's when it
Yeah,
reinvigorated that's even longer back, isn't it? Because
yeah. I
that was about
reckon that's 90s,
90,
isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
is that not about 91, 92? Because it was the follow on from Batmania
Yeah, that's true.
of 89.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we've got Sky Eyes. I don't know if you've got Sky, but you can go to the sort of.
yeah.
If you've got Sky Movies, you can go to. There's a superhero tab on it, and loads of the animated movies are on there. So I watch it. If I'm, got 5 minutes myself, I'll watch a bit of that. But it was all right. It was okay. There's a couple of bits that you think, why has he got a beard in this panel? He ain't got a beard in the next one. There's a bit of that going on, but we accept that. We're comic fans now. We're jaded comic fans, aren't we? You know.
And again, when you're going from, yeah, if you look at the digital first comics, that's often the case where it's like Mad Libs when you're handing off to the next person, going, I don't know what I've got to add on to the next line.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some good stuff out there. I enjoyed this, man. I'm going to keep reading onto it. I got a bit confused, and I jumped forward to the second volume of Gods Among Us.
Yeah.
And then I realised I'd missed about 20 issues, so I've gone back and started reading them in the digital format.
So
Be careful when reading them.
a bit of a,
yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say that's a problem if you actually go into Amazon or anything like that. Because they came out as when they came out as hardbacks, it was about every 6 issues.
Right.
The annuals and stuff got pushed into it as well. That shows how popular it was. They were producing annuals with with it as well.
Yeah.
So so it was about every 6 issues. Then they did soft covers and they did them in year arcs. So
okay.
Then they did soft covers that were the complete 12-issue year arc.
Right.
Then they've done omnibuses.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, there's a hardback you can get, isn't
there?
Where yeah.
Where the omnibus collects like 2.5 years per thing, right? And then obviously in the digital stuff, it's got in the app, it's got the digital first version, which is sort of in a half-page format, and then there's it can be a little bit tricky to work out what the reading order, because the other thing as well is things like Year Zero you have to read at the end, and
right.
Ground Zero is a bridging arc between.
Started so well. They started so well,
2.
and then they just fucking confused it by adding the Masters of the Universe.
Oh, I think that that was just tagged on at the very, very end.
Right.
And
okay.
That literally, I say I've never read it, and I'm going to say that by the end of Injustice 2, it reaches a conclusion.
Yeah, it
so
does. I understand what it is. It's been spoiled for me. I know what happens, but yeah. Okay.
So from that basis, you can kind of just go, ignore the Masters of the Universe piece.
Yeah.
I certainly intend to. But it's an interesting one again about saying how do you get people in to read comics who are involved in other things. If you're a gamer and you also collect toys, it's one of the interesting things that's actually interesting at the back of some of the hardbacks, which got the additional, the alternative covers that were used and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a set of alternative covers that were based on the toys, where they put the toys into action poses fighting each other. And that was the covers.
Oh,
that's
that what they are. I wondered what that was. See, the thing is, I've always seen these toys in shops and always thought, that's something to do with that video game, isn't it? That's kind of where I've sort of thought about it. But some of them aren't. The Green Arrow one isn't so far distant from what he's like in the regular comics. No.
Well, it's all these things. If something works in a game, then it will become the next version in the.
Yeah, that's true.
In the continuity, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I don't think we're far off seeing Batman regular in armor again. Oh, yeah, and all this sort of thing. Yeah, it's going to happen again soon, isn't it? Yeah,
well, it's Anyway, well, depends how the Flash movie goes.
Oh God. Yeah, let's see. Is that in a couple of weeks? Is it? That's quite soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you going to see the pictures?
My problem is, I kind of want to, but I kind of don't want to give money to the underlying premise of.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Isn't it weird?
It shouldn't be supported in some ways, but in other ways, I'm like going. Flashpoint is a good storyline.
Yeah.
And that's a concept's great. And
I think they're fucked because it's got to be. It's the start point for everything else that's meant to happen, isn't it?
Yes, and I don't know how much money they spent to get. His name entirely escaped me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The original Batman.
yeah. Michael Keaton. Yeah.
Michael Keaton.
And he seems to be in quite a lot, doesn't he? And is Affleck in it as well? Is he? Or
yeah. Well, he's certainly in the trailer.
Oh, is he?
Okay. So let's assume that
I quite liked Black Adam. I didn't mind it. At all. I watched it on telly, so I didn't go and see it in the cinema. But I kind of like Hawkman was good.
Yeah,
Hawkman.
I've not seen Black Adam. Again, it's another one of these ones where a lot of these trailers, you go, I have actually seen everything I need to see.
I know. I've tried to watch the Shazam movie, the new one, 5 or 6 times. I usually get about 3 or 4 minutes in, and it's what's her name? Who's the English actress who played the Queen? Helen.
Is it Helen Mirren? No?
Helen Mirren. I can't get past her, man. She's just terrible in it. It's awful. It's terrible. It's like she's doing a fucking pantomime for the money. It's awful. I quite like Lucy Liu. I quite like her, but yeah, she's as bad. There you go.
Anyway. This isn't a podcast about movies.
No, it's not. This is a podcast about comics.
Stuart Maureen. So,
and I shall never play this video game, although I do enjoy the comics. So there you go. That's a good trick for you.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff, man. So what's going on with you? What you got planned? So you're not tabling, are you? But you're thinking about going to a couple of cons
No,
this year. That's the sort of the idea, is it? Or
hopefully might try and do that. That's I'm trying to refine the fun. That's the plan for the year.
yeah,
I've shuffled things about in life in general, and that's going right now. It's
well, we had a
slow
chuckle, didn't
pendulum
we?
all the way down.
We did have a
We
chuckle
did,
at that, but we could have had a chuckle if
but
we just met in a pub and gone to a comic shop. To be fair, yeah,
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 yes. Oh, that was exactly. We could have saved ourselves 11 quid,
yeah,
because everything else about the weekend was a great laugh. But
yeah.
the con itself, basically, we or well, I don't know how much. I never go to comic marts, but it was if we had one up this neck of the woods, it would been easier or better to have gone into that, and we would have
Oh
had as
man,
much fun.
isn't there a Glasgow comic mart? Is there?
There is, I think so, yeah, but I've never popped through to it. But
Yeah, yeah,
it was just, and there's a bit of me going, I need to get to see a different circle of small press people.
yeah.
And
There's a lot of
look,
people
I was
there had stuff on their tables that I've seen on their tables for 3 or 4 years. Yeah,
and had I been there, I wouldn't have had anything new and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah,
you need to get yourself exposed to different things, and I think that there's an interesting challenge that comes with seeing different styles and different
yeah.
what different creative opportunities. I do worry that there's an awful lot of people going down exactly the same route at the moment, which means that it's
Yeah, you
you see an
pointed out
awful
that curation thing to me, which I included in the piece actually, and the grants that
yeah,
you were saying this shows the worth of a curated comic convention in that not
yeah,
everything looks the fucking same, and you could walk
yeah.
table after table at that convention, look the same badges, same pixel
That's
art,
not doing down any of the individual creators, all of whom their individual work might not be to my taste, but it looks
yeah,
like reasonable quality for what they were doing. But with suddenly you go, yeah, your art style is exactly the same as the person 2 tables down, which was exactly the same as the person next to them, which is exactly, and you suddenly go, there's only so many pussycats and as enamel badges that I can get excited about.
yeah. I
Um,
did like sitting in the back of the hall when we were waiting for Dave Cranner to go and do his speech. He's like his promotion for his comic, and I'm whispering in Dave's ear, mate, you got to be better than that last bloke. That was fucking awful. You got to put it out, mate. You got to do it like that. And then we gave him a big cheer when he'd finished,
yeah.
and he said, "I don't know what I said. I don't."
It was the fact that we all just got up and left and didn't
No,
for the next
that's all
person
we
to come in
needed.
to speak.
I know. I felt bad because it was Dave as well, and we liked Dave, but we were just sort
Oh,
of we needed to get out, didn't we?
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
was fun. Well, yes. And you got to meet a couple of furries, and
yeah. Oh yeah.
you've now seen Lino, and
Oh, Lino's backside.
suffered what I
Was it
I
you made me
suffered.
look at his backside, or was it Canon? I can't remember now.
All I said was, if you see it from behind, you'll never forget it.
I know. I still can see it.
And
It's imprinted into my retina. I don't feel well.
you know, it's it's
Lino.
clearly looking to be involved in the cosplay community. And as I say, I know certain people do the cosplay community down. I think they're really supportive of each other, and he feels that he's in a position that he can
He's
mix
almost
with
in, isn't
people.
he? Almost
Protest
in.
that.
Yeah, he was trying, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. And where can we find you online?
Just search for Pens Gwyn on any form of social media, or if you're looking to find some shadow art, look for shadow art on Twitter as well, and you'll find me starting to repost a lot of my collection.
Oh, nice. Good work, man. Tell me you didn't buy that one the other day you sent me.
No, no,
That's going to
I'd
go
love
up and
to.
up, innit, that one?
Yeah, that's yes. It was the coming together of both an artist I'd love to get a piece from and a
Your
character
favourite
that I love,
character. Yeah.
and you're like going, oh, that's going to be painful. But yeah, never mind.
Good work, man. Thanks for that, dude. And if you want to read it, the account of Glasgow, or if you want to see what else I'm knocking on about, you can go to neverundanything.com. You can also find this podcast on the front page there, and there's a little roundup, some other stuff that I've done. I'm trying to do like a weekly readers roundup as well, recommendations. Awesome Comics podcast has just come out. Numbers have really gone up on that. Feel free to come and join our Slack. There's a lovely little community of people just chatting up. We had there's been some very sensible conversations by sensible people who know what they're talking about on there. And there's also a reading group, which is currently doing Bone, which we've named Boning, which made us laugh. So we're looking probably to move on to the next reading group. So we're looking to source the next book. So if you've got any ideas, just get hold of me. You can come and it's free to join. Come and join the Slack and have a chat. It tends to be the main place that I'll post anything at all these days, apart from Rabbit On podcasts. So thanks, Al. We're going to have a chat again now and think about our next one. We've got a couple of interesting ones coming up, another artist roundtable, which should be an interesting one, so listen out for that one. And cheers to that, mate.